Welcome to Victim Justice Unveiled, a space where truth is honored, resilience is amplified, and justice is reimagined. Here, survivors, families, advocates, and system leaders come together to navigate the complex path of healing, accountability, and reform. Whether you're watching or listening, thank you for joining us in this journey where voices are uplifted and change begins. I'm your host, Tamara Mussolino. Let's begin. Welcome to Victim Justice Unveiled. Today, my guest is Ryan with CalLeap. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you, Tamara.
Glad to have you here.
Honored to be here.
If you want to go ahead and let our audience of your background and what brought you to CalLeap, and kind of introduce them into what CalLeap is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent 22 years in law enforcement, 15 years with the City of Sacramento Police Department, and then another 7 with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office. I retired in 2024 with PTSD, and through my own healing journey, basically got introduced to CalLeap as one of the first steps in my healing journey. And after going through their program, decided that this is a program that I want to invest in and continue working with to help other first responders in their journey with PTSD.
Oh, I'm glad that you found them. And
as am I.
You know, it's unfortunate that so many first responders do end up with PTSD, and a lot of them are out there wandering and not finding those resources. So I'm glad that you were able to find that, and that there's that connection and passion, and you're able to pay it forward and
Absolutely.
and be helped through them as well. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, like I said, honored to be here.
So we told us a little bit about your story.
Mm-hmm.
You retired early, PTSD. Do you want to dive more into that, or do you want to talk more about what CalLeap is?
Yeah, no, let's start with the background, because I think that's important. A lot of times people think that PTSD is just a one-time incident, right? And in my learning about it, I found that there's actually 2 types. There's PTSD, and then there's chronic PTSD, which is just what a lot of first responders deal with, is just that over and over and over exposure to traumatic incidents that never get dealt with, right? And so I've heard it say, you put it in your backpack, or you compress everything down and you put it on a shelf and you don't deal with it. And that's what I did. That's what I did for 20 years, is dealt with all of these traumatic calls, right? I mean, you name it, and I've dealt with it. Say for actually being in an officer-involved shooting myself, I've dealt with them all. And not only calls for service, but things like department betrayal. That's a huge thing for first responders as well, right? I have a divorce because of my career. Family life isn't always easy, right? People forget that first responders are people too, right? And we have our own personal issues that come into it. And so throughout the course of my career, that's what I dealt with. And in the culture that I came into early on was just pack it up and move on to the next call. We've got more things to do, right? And that's just the prevailing sentiment still. While there has been a shift in getting officers and first responders help in mental wellness, the rumors and the storyline behind that is still push it down, deal with it. We've got the next call to deal with, right? That culture is still there. Compartmentalize, absolutely.
And don't reach out for help, because then you're going to look weak. You're not going to look like, can you do your job?
Are you capable?
Are you capable anymore?
Can we trust you? Mm-hmm. Right? And in this community of alphas, it's what we are, right? Nobody wants that stigma. Nobody wants that jacket. Yeah. And so we just do that. We carry on. Or if we do get help, we get help in secret, right? I don't want anybody to know. Yeah. Because what are people going to say? And so that's what we're trying to do at Cal Leap is we're trying to put on, I don't want to call it normalize, but that's the best word I can think of right now is getting help is okay. Right. Looking through the stuff you outlined to talk about, one of the points that was brought up to me early on in my treatment is how hypocritical is it for you to say to somebody else, hey, you should get help or you should call me for help when you yourself aren't willing
It's a really good point.
to ask for help?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I wonder if the audience, who aren't first responders, potentially, just your average citizen out there, if they even think what it looks like in a first responder's life when they go home after that horrific incident, whether it's a vehicular crime and they see, someone lose a family member, or, we talked in preparing for this, whether it's the first responder themselves who has a baby,
Mm-hmm.
a newborn, and then they go out on a call that involves a newborn. Like, how do you process that? And as a society, we just expect first responders, well, that's their job. That's just what they do. But they don't think about the human side
For sure.
of that.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you bring that up. It's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah. And so we just getting the word out that, hey, listen, even though we're the ones who get called for help, we can still call for help too. And that's what Cal Leap is about. Cal Leap is about getting you connected with peers, clinicians, just a new circle of people that you can reach out to in those moments to where you don't have to give a backstory. That's the thing I love best about how we work Cal Leap is we spend enough time with each other to where I learn your story. I learn about you and what you've been through. And so when you call me at 2 a.m. and you tell me you're struggling, I don't have to say, hey, Pap, what are we talking about? I can be like, yeah, man, I remember how that affected you.
Yeah.
What do you need right now?
Yeah. It's a huge piece to the puzzle and, finding that mix that helps someone who is reluctant to look for
Mm-hmm.
help. Feeling comfortable and going to and connecting to that person
Right.
that's been through it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the exact same, but has a similar background.
Right.
I think that's such an important piece. And, we talked about having worked with law enforcement going through, gosh, there's so many things. For me as an advocate, I had times where I would go and vent to my law enforcement partner because I couldn't come
Right.
and share that information
Mm-hmm.
with my husband because, they have no idea
Right.
what we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
And not even have no idea, but for me personally, it was, I want to protect you from the horrors that are actually out there. And with a lot of the first responders that I talk to, that's the same sentiment is, and we ask them, we tell them you have to have this conversation with your spouse. What event or what story of my day do you want? Do you want the Disneyland version? Do you want the Reader's Digest version? Or do you want the brutal truth?
Yeah.
Right? Because if your significant other or your partner is not ready for what you're about to tell them, you've got a secondary traumatization right there.
Yep. Exactly.
Right. And then couple that with the fact that they might not agree with the way or the things that you had to do in order to do your job. Now you're concerned of, what does my wife think of me?
Yeah.
What do my kids think of daddy?
Yeah.
Daddy came home with a busted lip and a bruised eye. What happened today, daddy?
Yeah. Those are really good points because I think people forget that too.
Right.
And first responders are human first,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they take on this role of protector,
Mm-hmm.
and that translates into, like you said, the personal life.
Right.
And how are they supposed to balance all of that without having someone there in their corner to help them and help guide them? I worked with another nonprofit that does therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Different, but not in the office sitting down therapy. This is equine therapy, but
Right.
just a little plug for them too, because they're amazing. But that is, there's an animal that's not judging,
Right.
so I don't know what it would be like being a first responder and going and sitting with a human that has no idea what you do
Hmm.
and trying to open up to them. I can only imagine that being incredibly difficult.
Oh, absolutely. I've talked with coworkers who have told me I went to my therapy session and I made my therapist cry with the story that I was telling them. And they told me, I can't talk to you anymore because I can't handle this. And so as first responders, when we're already guarded and skeptical of clinicians, and then I mean, no disrespect when I say this, um, but our experiences are experiences, right?
Mhm.
And so now that person tells somebody else who's thinking about going to get therapy, hey, look, check it out, man. I went to my therapist and I made her cry. And now we're going to joke about it because that's our gallows humor, right?
There's a
And
lot of that in there's a
right,
lot of that in first responder work.
right. But unfortunately, that doesn't help
Yeah.
our brothers and sisters have confidence in the good clinicians that are out there.
Yeah.
And now I was very blessed when I found a clinician. She knew exactly how to deal with me, right? And she would call me to the carpet and she wouldn't let me do all of the tricks and things that I knew how to do to avoid dealing with my issues.
Mm-hmm.
Best thing she said to me one day is, you can do it today or we can do it next week. When do you want to do it? Because I'm not letting you out of it.
That's powerful. That's a huge statement.
And so that day we dealt with it, right? But again, I was very blessed to have that clinician in my corner to help me through that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just
I think people just forget. You guys, law enforcement,
mhm,
first responders, they're trained to, you talked about it earlier, compartmentalize
right,
and, just suck it up and deal with it. Um, but again, having worked with them when they're testifying as a law enforcement officer or a first responder on the witness stand,
mhm,
talking about what they witnessed versus having them testify as a victim of a crime, it should look completely different, but it really doesn't
no.
because that's just so ingrained, I think, in the training and everything you receive, learning how to adapt to that kind of a lifestyle.
And part of it too is, at least for me, when I think about that, is I don't want to open that box yet because I know that if I do, there's going to be things that are going to come up that I don't want to deal with right now. I'm not ready to deal with them
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
right? And so, like you said, our testimony remains the same, where we should show our vulnerable side and be a victim. That's not what we're conditioned to do.
Yeah. So, how does CalLeap work in that kind of an environment? How do they help first responders kind of open that door? I know that there are training modalities that are used. You guys have conferences.
Hmm.
There's a lot of different things where you guys help fill those gaps that
Right.
are out there for law enforcement. What does
So
that
the
look like?
beautiful thing about CalLeap, in my opinion, is that we are peer-led and clinician-assisted. The peers who lead the post-critical incident seminars have all gone through the program themselves. So our motto is, you have to sit at the table before you can sit behind the table. And so with that, you get the experience of what the post-critical incident seminar is all about. Um, and then the peers will set the example. When we open up and we introduce ourselves, we usually pick one or two peers who will go up and share their story and show that, yes, it's okay to talk about what happened to you, right? This is what we expect. And I say what we expect because in order to deal with your things, you have to deal with your things and you have to talk about them. And I found that over the course of my healing journey, the more I talk about it, the easier it gets. Now, some stuff still does affect me, but it's a lot easier. It doesn't affect me like it used to. I can tell the story now. So with Cal Leap, the peers will set the standard. This is what we want from you. And then we go around the table and everybody shares their story. Why you're here. Is it one incident? Is it cumulative? And then that gives everybody permission to be vulnerable, be honest,
Yeah.
use the words you want to use, because let's be honest, first responders, we don't talk Sunday school,
Mm-mm.
right? You need to drop the big words, you drop the big words, and you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings,
Yeah.
right? We allow them that space to just let it go.
They're not in protector mode at that point.
No, and it's we make it very clear to them that everything is confidential. If anybody from your department seems to find out that you're here and they want to ask are you really attending, we're not going to tell, right? Because what I've learned through my role as a peer support team member is confidentiality is king.
Yeah.
If I can't trust you with my deep, dark secrets, I'm not going to tell you about them.
I mean, that makes sense.
Right. And so for us at the post-critical incident seminar, confidentiality is king. And so we give them that space. We allow them to just open up, and no judgment, no anything, right? Just tell us your story. And then after everybody's had that opportunity, we like to put people together who have shared experiences into small groups. And then the rest of the time, we'll work together in those small groups to help people connect, grow those closer little groups of, hey, if I need to call you at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m, yeah, I know I can, right? And then during that time, we'll also give them one-on-one time with a clinician who will use EMDR, who will use breath spotting, some very effective techniques that I've used myself that have helped me process a lot of my big traumas. And then they get exposure to that. And so now they see that a culturally competent clinician is out there, right? There are things that I can do to help me work through my issues, my one event, my many events, whatever. And then at the end of it, we say, all right, everybody, how you doing? Give them a heads up that you're going back to reality, right?
Yeah.
Throughout this entire time, one of the things that I love about our seminars is we force them to allow help. And I say force them because we have to. You have to strong arm the people who don't want help. And so we do. And what that looks like for us is when we have our meals together, the peers will come around and clear their plates, right? Hey, can I get you anything? Do you need a refill? Anything like that? And there was a lot of times where I get resistance, right? Nah, Clev, I can do that. No, you don't understand. And so I've sat down with people that says, when I come and I ask you if you're done with your plate, all I want you to say is, yes, Clev, I am. Thank you very much. And by the end of this, the time that we have together, they just sit back and they accept the help. And then before we leave, I say, remember how it is just to ask for help or accept help? It's like somebody clearing your plate. That's all we want to do.
Great process, because so many people, you lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink, right?
Exactly.
But in this case, you're teaching them how to.
Yeah. And not only teaching them how to, but showing them that it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
safe.
My big thing was, I don't want to burden anybody. I know everybody else has their issues that they're dealing with, right? Because let's be honest, what first responder doesn't, right? And so I don't want to burden you because I know that you've got your own stuff to deal with. But when you show people that, listen, you're not a burden. You're blessing me to allow you to help you. Because if I didn't want to do this, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
If I didn't want to be a peer support person, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? But because I'm here and because I'm telling you, yes, I'm here to help you, accept it. Be okay with it. And then pay it forward.
I mean, you'd mentioned communicating and talking about it, and peers talking about their stories and sharing that information and how it helped you as well. I can say for a lot of the victims that I support, whether it's vehicular crimes, that they're out talking and working with MAD, or, the fentanyl families that are out there sharing their stories. I have families of domestic violence, homicide out there sharing their stories. For them, the common theme, like you, it's, telling that story is therapeutic.
Yeah.
For me. But I think there's so many times, as a supervisor for victim services, so many times survivors come through and they're like, I want to be an advocate. I want to be an advocate. And through the interview process, you would learn that they dealt with a trauma, or they were traumatized, but they hadn't dealt with it yet.
Yes.
So, having Kelly and being able to process through that trauma allows them to continue that very important work, if that's what they should do.
Absolutely. And I love what you said, that just because you've gotten through something doesn't mean you've necessarily processed it and worked through it. It literally took me a solid 2 years of weekly therapy to work through my stuff. And now I was very fortunate to be able to go back to Cal Leap in a capacity where I could help, and when I was put in appropriate roles, right? At first, early on, I was just a support person. Like I said, I was just there to clean your plates, right? Do we have enough snack table? Do we have enough drinks? Whatever, right? That was my role initially. As I continued to go back and continue to work with my own traumas, now I got more responsibilities. I was assigned to co-lead a team, a small group. And so now I got to work in a small group and see how that functioned. As I progressed, I led the small groups. And now I'm fortunate enough to be the director of the PCIS, to where I'm organizing our next one coming up in August to help the best I can, right? And get the peers in place that I think are going to be most effective to help the people coming in.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Just because you've gone through something doesn't mean you've processed it. And with a lot of first responders, we get the same thing. Oh, I dealt with that. Oh, did you? How you sleeping?
Yeah.
Right? What if I said this? Or what if I showed you this?
That's a good point too, because a lot of people talk about PTSD, but what is it? What does it really look like
Right.
in someone's day to day? And that leads me to the next question. How do you answer that? How do you walk that through with first responders?
So this one I actually have to pull my list for, because
No problem.
I a lot of the stuff that comes up as I talk about it, people will be like, "Oh, yeah, I can get that." The biggest one is the intrusive memories or the flashbacks, right? And for me, mine were day terrors. I could sleep like a baby. I was blessed to not have any kind of nightmares or anything like that. I would get day terrors. And so I'd be driving down the middle of the road and they would hit. I'd be standing in my office and they would hit. I'd be at home just hanging out with the neighbors and I would hear something, and right then and there it would hit. So things like that, nightmares, like I said, are sleep disturbances. You're not sleeping, right? Or when you do sleep, it's unrestful. You're tossing, you're turning, right? You're never hitting that deep REM sleep that we need so much.
Yeah.
You avoid talking about the instance or things that trigger the memory of it, right? If I bring up a topic and you're like, dude, I want to talk about that. Oh, really? So did you really deal with what you got going on?
Right.
Clearly not. You just detach from stuff. You're emotionally numb.
Yeah.
You don't care one way or the other. Good day, bad day, you're just flat.
Yeah.
This one I still struggle with. I'll be 100% honest with you. The hyper-arousal or the hypervigilance, you're constantly on the lookout, right? And I think that's part of being a first responder, especially in law enforcement, where because we know what's out there, we're never going to let that go.
Yeah.
Right.
Even
but
as an advocate, things that I've seen, things that the reports that come through, the victims I've talked to, even as an advocate, I'm always more aware of my surroundings than my family.
Yes.
Just because you know that there are bad things out there.
Yeah. And it's hard because if you're with somebody who doesn't get it, you might be having a conversation in a restaurant and somebody new walks into the restaurant and you look away and someone's like, well, am I not interesting enough? What's distracting you? Sorry, somebody came in the door. It's just the way I am.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And it's rough. Another thing that I struggled with a lot was negative self-concept. Right. Am I good enough? Do I work hard enough? Am I giving the right support? Not only at work, but then when I come home, right? Because at work, I'm in control. I put that uniform on and people listen to me. I go home, and when I was dealing with this at the time, my kids were a lot younger, and I can't get my daughter or my son to listen to me to put their socks in the hamper. Now, I bring out my command presence as an officer and yell at my kids. So am I a good dad? How come I can't connect to them? How come I can't get them to do what I need?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a hard one.
It's a powerful one to dig into, I think, for so many people,
Yeah.
right? Because you come home and just growing up as a kid, you don't know what your parents are going through because we don't
We don't want you to know.
we don't want you to know,
Right.
So then are the kiddos seeing something's wrong, like you mentioned with the black eye or the
Mm-hmm.
this or the that, and victims of crimes. I can see kiddos protecting their parents by not telling the parents the whole truth of what their day looked like
Yeah.
because they don't want to get their parents upset or they don't want to hurt their
Yep.
feelings.
And I got that too, where it was, my wife told me there were often days where the kids would ask, "Is Daddy okay? Can we go talk to Daddy?
Yeah.
Or do we just need to not?"
Yeah.
And as a father, that's crushing, because of course I want my kids to come to me.
Yeah.
But what I was going through and what I was struggling with, they could read it. And kids are very intuitive. Kids are
they know,
right?
They know way more than we know.
Exactly. And way more than we give them credit
Yeah.
for. But how do you have those conversations with a child
Yeah.
at their level?
Yeah. That's a good point, because you also have another program that works, and I don't want to cut away from the PTSD, but you also have another program for families, for spouses,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So what's beautiful about our post-critical incident seminars is we invite the spouses, partners, significant others, right? If you've got somebody in your life who you're serious with and they are affected by your job, bring them along. Let's get them help too. Let's give them a voice. Let's let them talk about how your job affects them, how your job affects their family. And for a lot of the first responders, it's a first time that they hear it. And when I say hear it, they actually hear it, right? Like I can listen to you and your voice comes out like Charlie Brown's teacher sometimes, right? And that's what we do as first responders. We tune it out. But to actually hear what somebody is saying and have that sink in and resonate with you is huge.
Well, and seeing others in the same situation, you're not alone.
Yes. And what's great for the spouses too is they get a network of spouses that they can reach out to, and they say, "Hey, Johnny's being a real pain in the butt." Right? What do I do?
Yeah.
Right? How do I, because after going through my journey, for me, it is unacceptable to shut my spouse off anymore. And now I still struggle with it. I'll be 100% honest. There's times where I still struggle with it. And I have to work on that because she went through this journey with me. Right? So often we have, like I said earlier, they just divorce.
Yeah.
Right? I can't handle you anymore. I don't know what to do with you anymore. I'm leaving. My wife was fortunate enough, or I was blessed enough by my wife. She says, "Something's wrong. You need help. I'm not going anywhere." To have that assurance that my partner is going to stick this out with me because she knows it's going to be a hard journey, was probably one of the biggest pieces to getting help.
Yeah.
Because there were days where I'd come home from therapy and I'd say, "I just need to go to bed. I worked really hard today and I'm exhausted." And she would be like, "Okay, no questions asked," right? And now I had to be careful with not abusing that, right? Because I didn't want to do something. But on those days where it was really hard, she was right there. And so by empowering the spouses to say, "Hey, yeah, this is what we went through. This is what you're going to go through if you continue this journey. Buckle up."
Yeah.
Right? And there's help for you too. Right? And that's what a lot of people don't understand is like EAP, that's for your family. Right? Your family has access to that too. Right? Get your spouse help. Encourage your spouse. Hey, you need to talk to somebody too. Because while I love to hear your complaints about me so we can fix things, you also need to not have to temper or hold back when you really need to vent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us to be able to support spouses as well, and to let them get a different perspective, right? They hear the stuff that we don't tell them. They hear those stories of, "Oh, wow, that's why when our baby starts crying, you have to leave the room or leave the house.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Now I get that it's not that you don't want to help. It's you heard or you
Yeah.
saw
Yeah. That's
or
powerful.
you had to. I get it now.
That's incredible that spouses or partners get to join in
Mm-hmm.
that journey because, you know, without that, they're going to stay in the dark.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
know, and so I'm so glad that that program exists. That's a huge piece, I think, in helping families because let's be real, the divorce rate is
Way too high.
really high.
Way too high.
You know, and what's sad is, and then it's another I don't want to say punishment, but another punishment for being our our saviors, our caretakers, the
Absolutely.
people out there risking their lives for us. They're risking their life, their home, their journey, everything.
Right. Because let's be honest, when a majority of the time when these divorces happen, they're not amicable.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's been stress in the home and the spouse and let's the spouse, whether it be guy or gal, right? They've got, and we'll call them resentments. They've got their animosities. They've got their hurt feelings about what this job has done to their marriage, what they thought was going to be their forever person, right?
Yeah.
We've got kids, we've got a house, we've got all of these things. And now this job took it away.
Yep.
A lot of the divorces are not amicable. And a lot of the aftermath of the divorces are not amicable either.
Yeah.
And so now you have the stress of, you owe me childcare, or you owe me alimony, or you this. And now we've got officers who have to work double shifts.
Yep.
Right? Who are working 7 days a week to support not only themselves, but
Two families.
two
now.
families.
Yeah.
Right? And so what do you think that does to their mental wellness?
Yeah. And that, in a weird way, but also ties into legislation, right? You know, you guys are working too many hours. You can't work that much overtime, and you can't, you know, and legislation shifts and changes and determines what law enforcement can do, what first responders are able to do, and so how do you navigate that as well? And then there's videos. There's so many pieces that you know tie into your family life if you are say an officer or
Mm-hmm.
first responder that's out there. Interesting segue, but I'm going with it.
Go with it. Yeah, absolutely.
And you know there's news out there, for instance, or someone's videotaping an arrest and you're doing everything you're trained to do correctly, but your family doesn't see you in action, doesn't see you like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and now you're on screen for the whole world to see, and then you've got the world judging you. You've got legislation passing laws to judge you,
Right.
and your family's all witnessing this as well. And so, I mean, just another layer of
And the biggest part of it, in my experience, to what we've seen lately with this boom of, I'm going to call them street reporters,
Mhm.
right? Because everybody has a camera in their pocket these days.
Mhm.
They catch the last portion of that interaction.
Yep.
They catch what now has been blasted across the media as excessive force or abuse of power or whatever. They don't catch the first hour where good cops are out there doing their absolute best to de-escalate a situation. I was one of them. I worked with plenty of them who would spend so much time trying to get this to a situation where it was a peaceful resolution. And unfortunately, the person that we were dealing with either didn't want to.
Yeah.
They were under their own traumas and they didn't want to. They were under the influence of drugs, alcohol, whatever the case may be. They had mental illness that was uncontrolled. And the steps that the officers took to end that contact were necessary. But we don't have that context, right? We just have that last 15,
Yep.
20 seconds of look what this copper did.
Yeah.
And that's what legislation gets based off of.
Yep.
Right? And I mean, I can't begin to tell you how many times I've gone through additional trainings for stuff that we're already doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so that stress comes back on of, like you said, where your family sees that, or your kids see, mom or dad on TV, and now they're catching it from their friends.
Yeah.
And now they're coming home saying, Dad, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right. I had a conversation like that with my son where I had to say, hold on, time out. I hear your side. Now let me give you more information.
The full context.
The full context.
Not just a brief
right.
portion of it.
Now, the next time this happens with you in your little friend group, bring that up for me, please. And see how it goes.
Yeah.
But then again, now I'm putting stress on my son because he needs to fit in at school. Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be labeled, bullied. Right. And so it's that constant fear of how do I protect my family and still do my job?
Well, and society is not helping first
absolutely not.
responders at all with, don't listen to them. They can't tell you what to do. And how many, YouTube videos do you see where people are sitting in the car? I don't have to listen to you. I'm not getting out. What's your badge number? What's the, and coming at first responders who are doing what they're paid to do, what they're trained to do, what we as a society want them to do.
Right.
You've got citizens out there who are, taking it in a completely different direction. So,
and what I laugh at is when they say, why did you stop me? It's the traffic stops are the ones you see most often, right? Why did you stop me? Well, I stopped you today because you ran through that stop sign. Or I stopped you today because you blew by me going 90 miles an hour. Well, why did you stop me? I just told you. Well, why did you stop me? And you don't get the compliance. It's like, look, man, I was just going to tell you to slow down, right? Majority of the time, we just want you to be safe.
Yeah.
Right?
We want you keep the community
right.
safe. Whether
Just be
that's
cool.
someone speeding, someone running through stoplights.
Right.
Just be safe.
Just be safe. Just be cool, right? But if you want to be this way and you want to ask for my supervisor and you want to do all the things, well, not to be petty, but I can do all the things too. Right?
Yeah. You're trained to do
right.
the things.
And you don't want me to exercise the letter of the law when all I want to do is exercise the spirit of the law.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? As a copper, in my opinion, you have to have that balance. Yeah. Right? I was very heavy spirit of the law. I get that people have stuff going on in their life. I understand that. I don't want to make your life more difficult. I just want you to keep my community safe. Yeah. Help me keep my community safe.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So but if you start shutting yourself off from the rest of the world, right? You turn into one of the Eustas. I used to do this. I used to do that. Right? That's huge. Sleeping a lot or not sleeping enough. Difficult concentrating. I still suffer with that. I have a very hard time focusing, thinking of words to say, stuff like that. Self-destructive behavior, right? Those risk-taking, that's where affairs start, gambling.
Unhealthy coping
skills. Unhealthy coping skills, right? Drink too much, spend too much money, right? Because you love that little burst of, ooh, that feels good to get something in the mail, right? Or something like that. Yeah. Hopelessness, loss of meaning. Like, why am I doing this? Yeah. Is it really worth it? Yeah. Law enforcement, I'll speak to law enforcement specifically, is a very honorable profession, no matter what anybody says about it. I'm a firm believer that God calls each and every first responder and law enforcement person to do that job because not everybody can do it. God gives you a very special talent and ability to be in law enforcement. He equips us to be compassionate, yet have the side of you that needs to handle the dark things that are in life. And not everybody is ready to do that. Yeah. And so that is absolutely a gift that you are given by our Creator to do that. And so I want to tell guys and gals, don't ever give up on that. Because we need you. And then finally, and this is the worst one. Suicidal ideations are just wanting to end it all. Yeah. Right. And I tell this to people. I told this to people on the streets, and I tell this to my first responder brothers and sisters. That's a permanent solution to a short-term problem. Yeah. Yeah. Right. I have somebody who I looked up to. As I was growing up in my law enforcement career, And I'll never forget the day that I found out he committed suicide. I was out with my family, and we were up in South Lake Tahoe, just having a little extended weekend. And peer support lead from my old department called and said, "Hey, so and so killed himself today." And it was the first time in a long time where I sobbed because of what happened. And then again, it goes to my kids being there, and they say, "Is Daddy okay?"
Yeah.
And my wife had to step in and say, "Yeah, Daddy lost somebody who he respected or he was close to, and he's just having a really hard time with it." And so, I mean, if nothing else, right, know that there are people out there who want to help you, who are willing to listen to you, who can help you get the help that you need. Because with suicide rates as high as they are for first responders, for military, right, it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
Right? It really doesn't. So yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one because you're right. It isn't a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Right.
And it's really, with people that are there in that moment, feels so helpless. And, for them to have an organization like CalLEAP or, there are other organizations out there, but people who are there for them on their side that they can communicate with,
Right.
and hopefully prevent that.
And I'll go as far as to use the military term of having that battle buddy, right? That one person that without a shadow of a doubt that if you call them, they're going to answer the phone. And that's one of my biggest goals with CalLEAP is I tell every attendee, I've put your name in my phone. You are no longer a number, because going back to the Department of Betrayal piece, to every department, you're a number.
Mm.
And I found that in 2 departments, that I am just a number, that they transfer from one column to another when you leave. But to you, you are a name. You are a person. I know you personally. And so when you call me and I see your name come up on my screen, if I can't answer you, I'm sending you a message that says, "Are you okay? Do I need to step out?" And everybody gets it. We have lives, right?
Yeah.
We all, going back to earlier, I know everybody's got their own lives going on.
Yeah.
But if I am willing to pick up that 500-pound phone that is so hard to pick up because I need help, I want somebody to answer.
Yeah.
Because I've been on the other end of the line where nobody answered. And just like having a bad experience with a clinician, when somebody says, "Hey man, if you need me, call me," and you do, and they don't answer, forget that guy.
Yeah.
Who's gonna answer my call? Right? And so I tell people, I don't care what time it is. Give me a minute to wake up. Right? Because if you call me in the middle of the night,
be a little
right? I might be a little bit groggy, but I'm going to answer you.
But you're going to be there.
And we're going to be there. And that's CalLEAP's motto is, we're here for you today, tomorrow, and for the rest of forever.
That's powerful. Whew.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is.
There's so many, you hear so many stories similar to what you shared, and it's heartbreaking that, people that are out there fighting for our freedom, fighting for our safety, fighting for security, feel so helpless and unsupported.
Yeah. And
we need to do better. We can do better.
We absolutely can do better. And it takes each of us to do our part, right? For so long, we want to point the finger, and maybe I might be off on this, but I'm just going to go with it. We should do something. Well, are you part of we?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Somebody should do something. Well, aren't you somebody? I heard one time If you're able to respond, you have a responsibility,
Oh, I like that.
right? So if I can do something, I'm responsible for doing something. And that's what I'm doing here is sharing my story, sharing my pain. And when I share it, I'll tell you what do you want to know? I am an open book. And part of that is giving that other person the confidence to be like, oh, wow. One of the things I take the most pride in, try not to be prideful, but this I will be, is when I went through my post-critical incident seminars, one of the other people that was there I used to work with. And he said, I wasn't really sure about coming because I didn't know what people would think.
Mm.
But when I saw that you were here, I knew I made the right choice.
Oh, wow.
And so that kind of goes back to one of the questions that you sent for preparing for this interview was how do you make the message land that it's okay to ask for help and receive it in a culture built around being the ones who give the help, never the ones who needs it? My first one is personal choice. How do you want to live your life? Do you like being miserable? And sometimes we don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? But if you could take that 30,000 foot view of your life and you could be objective, would you continue to choose to live that way? And when you hear the voices of people who are against you getting help, look at their life. Is it the crotchety guy who's sitting in the back who's got 3 divorces and he's got alimony and all that other stuff? Do you want to be like that guy?
Right.
Or do you want to be like a kid who deals with the crap that he's dealt with and he's okay?
Yeah.
Considering, right?
No, that's a great question. That's a really good question.
The second part, going back to one of the statements I made earlier, is humility. We're alpha. We don't need help. We've got this, right? Pastor Joby Martin, I love him. I listen to his sermons all the time. And he says, the most dangerous thing a man can say is, I got this. Brother, sister, no, you do not. You do not.
You do not.
Right? And so, hey, eat that slice of humble, eat the whole pie if you need to, and ask somebody for help. And then finally, it's leadership. And I'm not talking the stars and bars, the people at the top, right? It's the person who shows up on scene and everybody else recognizes that we're going to be okay because that person, that guy, that gal just showed up and they've got their stuff together.
Yeah.
Right. And so going back to that point of, I knew that when I saw you here, I made the right choice. To me, that's leadership.
Yeah.
That's stepping up and saying, yeah, I'm not okay and I need help. You can do it too.
Yeah.
Right. And so when the people who have that reputation start speaking freely about the help that they got and encouraging others to be like, yeah, man, it's okay. Get on top of it. I'll tell people honestly, I waited 20 plus years to get my help. And that's why I'm not in law enforcement anymore. Had I been smart and followed my own, right,
What
3
you know
steps,
now.
what I know now,
Yeah.
I'd still be in law enforcement. I love that job.
Yeah.
Very proud to be a cop or a deputy.
Yeah.
Very. Unfortunately, my brain can't handle it anymore. I've seen too much. I've done too much. And so now the best thing for me to do is to go back, encourage others, get help early, get help often. It's okay.
Yeah.
We work out. I mean, I was a fiend at working out, right? We take care of our bodies because when somebody told me at 21, when I first started with law enforcement, I could retire at 50. I said, man, I'm going to keep my body fit. I'm going to be able to do whatever I want, right? I'll have 30 years. That's a sweet pension. That's 90% of my pay for the rest of my life. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Never not once did I think about my mental wellness.
Yep.
And that's what got me.
Yeah. And that's something we weren't educated to look at.
No.
In this society. Your mental health wellness was not even factored into your health.
No, because
working out, yes, but what about your brain?
Yeah,
what about
because people always said that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
That was the response that I got when I would tell my stories or like I got spit on one time. Well, that's what you signed up for. I told my kids growing up, listen, I'll take a lot of crap from you. But don't you ever spit on anybody.
Oh.
In my personal opinion, that's the most degrading thing you can do to another human being.
So awful.
Right. And I know that's my experience, and I'm sure there's, and I mean no disrespect to the victims that you've dealt with, who had other terrible, nasty things done to them. But as a
But that's a big
person,
one. That's a big one.
do not spit on me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And but to get the response of, well, isn't that what you signed up for? No.
See, and again, it goes back to the culture, right? Whether it's the leadership, whether
Mhm.
it's, our society. Well, you sign up to be in gunfire, you sign up to be in the battle, you sign up to go to war, you sign up for all
Mhm.
these things, deal with it. So I'm so glad that there's a place where people can go and that we, our society, are starting to transfer
Right.
that into a place of it's okay to ask for help.
There. Right.
And there is help
There.
out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So people come through our program. We're with them for the better part of 3 days. We show them what it's like to work in group interaction. We show them what it's like to actually communicate, to be open, to be free with your story, to accept help. Now, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to keep it in your pocket? Are you going to hold it close to your vest and say, this is for me and for me alone? Or are you going to go out and be like, listen, hey man, I'm seeing the same stuff in you that got pointed out to me. And I'm not judging you. Dude, I'm just as guilty of having these things. And I'm telling you this, one, because I love you, right? And then I'd like to get into that, those layers of love, right? Because I think we're too scared to tell our brothers and sisters that we love them.
Mhm. Yeah.
But when you go back to your department, to your agency, hey, dude, listen, because I love you, I'm going to tell you this truth in love. I'm not judging you. I just know what it's done for me. And that's my thing. I know what it's done for me. I want the same for you because I see my future now. I want it to be long. I want the county to pay me a long time for my service.
Yeah.
And I want the same for each brother and sister. I think you should do this. Right. And like I said, or with our PCS, they're totally confidential. Another thing, 100% free. Our first responders, their spouses do not pay a penny to come to our program because what we have found is that it is ridiculously expensive for first responders to get help. And that's a huge turnoff.
Yeah.
When I can't afford the dailies, how am I ever going to afford help like that? Right? Work comp, they're going to fight you. Right? Personal insurance won't always pay for it. They might pay a portion, but they're not going to pay all of it. And so at the end of the day, do I want to put myself in debt, more stress, right, to get help?
Yeah.
No, I'll
Compatible
just,
with everything else that you're going
right,
through, right? Whether it's a divorce, child support,
right. So I'm just going to keep on keeping on and not have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So we're 100% free. We get our funding from some unions, right? We'll sometimes work comp will pay for it. That's where I got very lucky. Work comp paid for mine. I'm one of the unicorns in the work comp world where whenever I asked for something, they gave it to me. And so I will give credit where it's due. Thank you to my work comp people who helped me get well.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have the same experience, right? And so by offering this program 100% free, it alleviates that. So now, like I said, we have to go to unions, work comps. We do a fundraisers a couple times a year. We have our golf classic coming up in October.
Okay.
That people, if they want to come support, would be amazing. I can shoot you that information to
that'd be
share if you
great.
would be so kind.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's donations, right? We can't get grants because we're such a niche group.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times we have to get pass-through grants where a department will ask for mental wellness funds, and then they can pass that on to us. With everything else that everybody's trying to get money for, sometimes that's not the priority,
Yeah.
right? And it's unfortunate, and it is what it is. So people who want to donate to our nonprofit would be amazing. You can go to calleap.org to do that.
Perfect. I'll put that in the information in the podcast as well so that they can connect with you
Yeah, that would be awesome.
and help support.
Yeah, because like I said, our big thing right now is getting people to help, because we have a wait list.
Well, that brings me to another question is who can you help? Because let's be real, there's so many programs out there
Right.
and you're filling gaps, but as a nonprofit, you're not going to have just unending pocketbook.
Right. And that's the hard part, is where do we draw that line?
Yeah.
Right. Talking with our president and founder, Scott Swain, he lost a lot of sleep over that decision of where do we draw the line. And so right now our line stands at law enforcement, whether sheriffs or police officers, and then any kind of law enforcement capacity. So a lot of people have civilian CSI. So if you're associated with those law enforcement divisions, we'll take you to fire, EMS, dispatchers, which is, in my opinion, one of the bigger ones, because my heart goes out to dispatchers, and I have a very special place for them for what they have to deal with. So I love my dispatchers. I've always loved them. And then DA investigators is where is our group right now. We would love to take all of the first responder community, whether it be corrections or anybody, probation, anybody else who has some kind of association. But right now we're just so full with the group that we have that we can't. And with our funding being as limited as it is, and the sources that we have right now, the only one we can put on is the one in August, which is our basically our birthday. Our birthday is in August.
Wow.
Okay. And so that one we stay hard and fast on. Our goal is to our immediate goal is to put 3 or 4 on a year, so quarterly. But ultimately, we'd love to put on one a month. There's that much demand to where we could easily fill one critical incident seminar a month.
Wow.
With we shoot for about 24 attendees.
I mean, I feel like that's something that you would hope our government would recognize and want to support, because
For sure.
again, healthy first responders equal healthy victims in a way. I mean,
Healthy first responders are better for everybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
Right? If I can manage myself, I'm going to be the best version of me on the streets that I can be. And I don't care what department you work for. You could work for Mayberry, or you could work for the biggest department in the world, right? If your people are healthy, physically and mentally, they're going to do what you ask them to do, regardless of the situation.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when people bind together, and that's the one thing that I loved about the teams that I worked on, we took care of each other. And talking to the friends that I still have in some of the departments, when I say, how do you guys do it? The common denominator is we just take care of each other. Right? And so going back and saying, well, listen, if I can help in any way, give me a holler. Here's my card.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we want to expand. We want to get as big as we can, but still provide the help in a quality manner, right? We're not looking to blow up and just give a half butt, right?
Yeah.
Help, because then we're going to turn into one of the stories.
Yep.
Right? Don't go to that clinician because they're terrible. Don't go to that program. No, that's not what we want. We want people to be like, yes, go there. You will benefit from it. So yeah, that's where we're at right now, is we're just kind of chipping away to get that funding so we can
keep supporting.
To Blue Line Vets, again, going back to that news that I got. So often, I mean, and he did 30 years.
Wow.
For 30 years of his life. And so for me, up until to the point I retired, I was in law enforcement for more of my life than I did anything else. The bigger half of my life was in law enforcement. And for guys who do 30 years, if you don't have anything to look forward to after you retire, what do you a lot of guys go back as annuitants or volunteers or reserves, right?
Yeah.
Because they've got nothing else to do, or they know nothing else, right? Like I said, when I was told that I could retire at 50, my mind immediately went to, I can travel, I can do nothing, right? I can do whatever I wanted, but it's not going to be in law enforcement because I did my time.
Yeah.
These guys don't have that identity. They don't have, and I don't want to be disrespectful when I say this, but sometimes they don't have a plan. And then you consider the guys who get their career taken away by an injury, right? I got injured on the job and now work comp tells me I can't go back to work. What do you mean I can't go back to work? What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we can lose that identity either through a planned retirement or have it taken away from us. And where's my community? Because I'll tell you this too. The one gripe I could have about my brothers and sisters in blue is when you leave, you're gone. When you leave, they forget you.
Yeah.
I can count on one hand how many times somebody has reached out to me after I left, both departments. And that's out of 2 departments. And I wasn't somebody who just stayed in the background and didn't know people. I knew a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so when your brothers and sisters don't reach out to you anymore, well, who's
That
my family?
kind of ties into that number thing you were talking about before,
Right.
right? And when you said that earlier, having come from 2 different counties, worked in 2 different areas, not as a first responder, but again,
Mhm.
advocate, paralegal, and leaving, there are friends and friendships that you develop, but in general, you're
Right.
just a number. They're
Mhm.
going to find a hole. They're going to fill the hole
Yeah.
and move on
Yeah.
because that's what needs to be done.
Yep. And like for in law enforcement, your position is continually open on the county or the city website, whether it be through laterals or new hires.
It's a revolving door.
It's a revolving door, right? And so when you lose, and I'll speak to law enforcement in particular, you go through some really nasty, scary stuff with people, and you do build that bond over trench warfare. Yeah, we're not sleeping in foxholes next to each other like our military vets and guys and gals do, but we go through some hairy stuff, and you build bonds and connections with people that are deep. And when nobody reaches out, when those people don't reach out to you, it hurts even more, right?
Yeah.
One of my biggest struggles was reaching out to folks while I was off because they said, hey, the best thing you can do is fill your time. Okay, hey, I'm going to start reaching out to people for lunch. Hey, you got time for lunch? Yeah. Hit me up. Let me know. Hey, I'm hitting you up. Do you have time? Can we put something on the books? Oh, yeah, super busy. 3 times. Just like for me, I played baseball growing up. You get 3 strikes.
Yeah.
I reach out to you 3 times and there's no confirmation. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Duly noted. Right? But with PCIS and building those bonds through our small groups, and what's nice, especially when guys and gals are local, that's a lot easier. Hey, you want to grab lunch? Yeah, man, let's go.
And it's an important piece, right? You need
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
You have an onboarding process, but you should also have an equal offboarding process in place.
And yeah, so going back to a Blue Line Vets, it gives us those guys a community of, hey, I need somebody to talk to. Okay, I'm struggling with being separated from service. You know what? Me too. And again, through my process, I was very, very blessed. I had a very unceremonious, I'll call it stripping of my police powers. And policy is what policy is. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but new sheriff came into town and said anybody who's off on 4850, which is our injured on duty stuff, for PTSD, you need to take their gun, their badge, and their police and their sheriff's credentials. And so one day I was out running errands, and my phone rang with an unknown, and it said unavailable or unknown. And that I was around long enough. That's a county line.
Yeah.
I'm not answering that call.
Yeah.
So I let it go to voicemail. Came up again, straight to voicemail. My wife calls me. What are you doing right now? I'm running errands. Sheriff's office just called. They want to come. They're here at our house to take your gun, your badge, and your ID. Where are they? I said, she's like, yeah, they're here to take your stuff. Can I get it ready for you?
Ugh.
And so I said, I'll be home in 20 minutes. I'll be home in 15 minutes. This is where everything is. Right. So I pull up into I lived in a court. And when I pull in, their cars parked the wrong way, facing out, like surveillance style. And I did surveillance in my career, and so I saw it right away, right? And I'm like, you're kidding me. This is how you're gonna do it.
You get treated more like a criminal than a peer, a person that
It gets better. As I get out and I'm greeted by 3 people, one of them is in her full duty belt with her vest on, clearly visible underneath her shirt because that's what she felt she needed to do. One of them, he was the coolest about it, and was very low key with it. And then the other one was in the middle, right? It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, which bed is the softest to lay in, right? They handed me the general order and they said, hey, this is the new policy that we're enacting. Can you go get your stuff?
wow.
And so my wife had graciously got everything ready for me, had it all sitting right by the door. As I walk out, the one in her vest and everything was in her bladed stance with her hand on her gun.
Wow. And this is someone, oh, this is just, I don't have words for that. That's just so.
And so I just handed everything over. And in my mind at the time, I just wasn't thinking about it. Well, my wife had grabbed the wrong gun. And so when I handed it over to the guy, he's like, hey, this isn't yours from the sheriff's office. This is a different one. I'm like, oh, okay. So he hands it back, and lets me go back in my house to get the right one. Right. And I'm thinking, if you are so worried about my mental health and having the sheriff's office gun, why are you letting me do all these things?
Yeah.
This is the most unsafe situation you could ever put yourself, because if I'm such a threat to have my own gun, shouldn't be happening this way. There's tons of other ways we could do this, but this is the way whatever, right? And so I go and I get the right one. I hand it over. I said, hey, is there anything else? And he starts, one of them, the middle bed, right? She says, we understand how you feel. And now, mind you, I was a negotiator.
Interesting choice of words.
Right. And the one word we were told never to say to anybody was, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at her sideways and I said, get off my lawn. We're done here. And the beautiful and redeeming thing about that situation is I heard clear as you and I are talking right now, the good Lord whispered, this is not who you are anymore. And it was at that moment that I had such a peace with the ending of my career and knowing that God had something else in store for me, that I could walk away with no hard feelings. Now, again, same thing with my work comp case. With everything else, I have been very blessed and very fortunate in my healing journey that a lot of other people don't get.
Yeah.
A lot of other guys and gals don't get that closure of ending their career in a way that settles okay with them.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just, again, for the Blue Line Vet stuff, anybody who has retired And I don't care when you're retired. You get retired before I started. Call me. Right? You get retired in a good way, in a bad way, anyway. Call me. Call us. Let us know how we can help you. Because again, like I said, we're out there. We're 100% out there. We're 100% here for you whenever, as best we can.
That's awesome. Man, it's so disheartening to think that, you're probably, I'm sure you're not alone in how that down.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's so much training that law enforcement has to have. You should be doing de-escalation of events and things and whatever. But the one thing, like, that's how you're treating someone who gave it everything.
Yeah.
Eh,
And Tamara, when I say I'm grateful for the therapy that I had gotten to that point, it allowed me to have that bird's eye view of the situation and be objective to what happened.
Yeah.
Because I had already done so much work. And again, because I had people that I knew, I had the ability to call somebody and have that hard conversation with the hard words, knowing full well that they weren't going to get mad at me or hold it against me.
Yeah.
Right. And say, this cannot be. I get it. I read it. I get it why this happened or why you're doing this. The way it was done was absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Right? How can you treat your brothers again? And when I say this in the law enforcement family, I do air quotes because of my experience. Your brothers and sisters this way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that to them.
Yeah.
Right? So again, there's so many pieces to this. What the department can do, what we can do, what the government can help us do to fund things like this, give us voices to support the guys and gals who are dealing with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a big elephant to eat, and you finish it by taking one bite at a time. So
Here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
And so that's why I appreciate this opportunity so much to come and get our message out, to get our voice out, because we all want the same for our communities, I think.
Mhm.
Right. And for each other. I mean, healthy and well-rounded, I think is a good word, right? First responders in whatever capacity they hold, to have us have a healthy and well-rounded community. Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that there's a support system out there in Cal Leap for our first responders. And I hope that you guys are successful in funding.
Thank you.
Moving forward, and that you can grow the program appropriately to continue offering that kind of support that you have, that infrastructure that we already have, and you can build on that. It's so important.
Right.
It's so important. And I hope that our audience today was able to hear things that you brought to the light that most people wouldn't know.
Right.
Whether it's, what's going on in the personal family lives, or, asking for help, how to go about asking for help. And, what does it still feel like when, you go through that divorce, so to speak, in your career?
Right.
You're leaving something that, it's so important to be able to have that off-roading.
Right.
And that structure in place.
Mhm.
And so I'm so grateful that you were here and you shared all of that. And again, I hope the audience hears this and takes it to heart and really considers, when they see things on the news, when they read things in the news,
Right.
or if they come into contact with that first responder, think about what you've heard here today and understand that you're dealing with a human being first.
Right. And that's Thank you for reiterating that, because that's the biggest part of it is, yes, we are humans. We are fallible. We are imperfect beings asked to do a job with perfection.
Mhm.
And as hard as we try, no copper wants to be on the news. Good, and I'll say it this way, good or bad.
Yeah.
We don't like praise, and we don't like criticism even more, right?
Exactly.
We are very content to be the men and women behind the scenes who keep everybody safe, who allow you to live your life without worrying about the things that we know are out there.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, when that cop is short with you on your traffic stop, or in that contact in the field where they may be a little curt or they don't respond the way you think they should, take half a second and be like, I wonder where he just came from.
Yeah.
I wonder what call he had right before this one. I'll even go something. I wonder if he's been able to eat today.
It's a very good point.
Because there were many times in my patrol career where I didn't eat for a 10-hour shift. And then I didn't get to eat because everything was closed. And I had reports to write. So I was 3 or 4 hours overtime. Oh, and then after that, I had court the next morning.
Exactly. And you love getting that subpoena from the DA's office, didn't you? 'Cause-
And then after court that morning, I had to go straight into work.
yeah.
I really probably took my whole uniform off for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't worth it to do the rest of it.
Yep.
So just remember that we're humans, and we honestly, hand to God, want to do the absolute best job we can for our communities. Because, like for me, I grew up in Iowa. I didn't live in Sacramento ever. I got a job with the Sacramento Police Department, and I chose to serve community. I had no ties to this community.
No.
Yet there I was, trying to help. That's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you again for being here.
no, thank you.
And again, I'll post all the information about CalLeap on our social
Fantastic.
media pages and on this podcast. And looking forward to watching you guys grow.
Thank you so much.
And all that is in the future for you.
Appreciate you, and we look forward to working with you in the future as well, because love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on Victim Justice Unveiled, where truth is honored, voices are uplifted, and justice is reimagined. Justice isn't a verdict, it's a lived experience. If this episode moved you, share it. If it informed you, act on it. And if it reflected your truth, know that you're not alone. Together, we unveil the path toward change.